Welcome back to Hey Kentucky here at the Kentucky State Fair. Now happy to be joined by Kentucky's Agriculture Secretary Ryan Quarles. Ryan, great to see you.
Thanks for being at the State Fair. 114 years of tradition. Thanks for being here.
Glad to do it. We've done it many times. We love it here. Now, before we get started on serious stuff, tell me about Ag World back here. Very cool display you have.
Well, for the first time in a very long time, we brought all the agriculture exhibits together and under 2 acres of retail space right here. In fact, we have our cattle growers, our soybean growers, the Department of Agriculture, Kentucky Farm Bureau, all underneath one area. And one thing we try to do in agriculture is try to educate people about where their food comes from. Most people don't know the difference between a soybean and a green bean. And this ag land allows us to tell our story in agriculture, and we have a lot to be proud of in Kentucky.
He could teach me the difference between a soybean and a green bean. I was in the soybean board bean place, and it was awesome, and so you can learn that as well. Now, you know, this is, I think the State Fair in some ways is a celebration of agriculture in Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about the state of Kentucky agriculture. There are a couple things on the horizon. You obviously have the tariffs, but just in general, we'll talk about those in a minute. Do you feel like the state of Kentucky's agriculture economy is strong?
It is strong. We're looking at another good year. Yields are projected to be good this year, just like in 2017. But when you talk about Kentucky agriculture, you're actually talking about family farms. We have 75,000 Kentucky family farms, almost all of them owned and operated by farm families like mine. And that's something we can all take a lot of pride in. When you look at our economic impact, it's over $45 billion. So I like to tell people that Kentucky farmers punch above their weight class.
Now, the tariffs that President Donald Trump instituted, we've heard a lot of complaints about their effect on farmers across the country. Are they having a negative effect on farmers in Kentucky?
For our farmers looking towards a harvest, which will happen here in a couple weeks, the cash basis right now is depressed because of international market forces, some of which can be attributed to the tariffs, but also knowing that weather conditions in South America can change that price as well. And so we're hoping that we can find some resolution to the proposed tariffs so that our farmers can go into harvest season with a price that can cover their inputs.
Do you disagree with the tariffs?
I think most farmers in Kentucky are sticking with the president.
That's not what I asked you. I said, do you disagree with the tariffs?
Well, I think we need to have a fair trading system. There are some unfair trading practices going on right now, particularly when it comes to protection of intellectual property rights.
So
You're a lawyer, you know about this.
Right, Secretary Quarles,
allow me to answer.
The tariffs or are you against it?
Allow me to answer. The way the international world economy is organized since 1947 is a rules-based system. So if you're violating the rules, we need to have a legal mechanism to call your hand on it. And right now the WTO seems to be working, but when we have these bilateral agreements, which Trump's administration has been aggressive on, we need to make sure that we have a dispute resolution system. And if we don't have one that has integrity, then we do need to make sure that we call their hand. And a tariff type of reaction is normal right now.
So you're for them?
I'm for a policy that gives American farmers access to other countries.
I love you, Secretary Quarles, but it's a yes or no question. Are you for them or are you against them?
Well, of course, when I talk to my farmers, yeah, I'm against them.
Okay, so you're against them.
But it's also a time to make sure that we support an administration that is calling the hand on unfair trading practices which have occurred for decades. Like right now, it's hard to ship any American ag goods to the EU. It's hard when we ship soybeans to China. We are held at a different threshold than other countries and our competitors. And so when we do want to make sure that we play by the same rules, tariffs are a natural reaction to that. But I will say this, the president is negotiating in public right now. We're not used to that. And so I'm hopeful that we can come up with a trading policy that gives American farmers access, because in the vast majority of the world, the United States only has trade agreements with only 20 countries.
But against them?
But against,
okay.
Yes.
So talk to me about a couple of things that people who are sort of judging in the 2018 elections, that people who want to see Kentucky farms be better, should they be looking for in candidates?
Well, I think
what are some policies that are needed?
You want to have candidates that understand the needs of rural Kentucky. They're not unlike the needs of urban Kentucky, but there's some things about rural Kentucky that are going to probably have more emphasis, like infrastructure. We want to make sure that we have a tax policy that makes sure that Kentucky farmers are exempt from input on sales tax for their inputs for their crops.
Yeah, which is the same like something both parties agree on, but it's not in place. Why is that?
Well, it is in place. That's our current tax policy. We want to keep that,
okay.
And sometimes there's some legislators that may not understand the need about why we need that, because we don't want to unintentionally shoot ourselves in the foot.
Now, I think most people would agree, have been a successful agriculture secretary. Are you going to run again?
I am running for re-election in 2019.
No chance if Matt Bevin decides not to run for governor, you switch and throw your hat in that race?
You know, a few years ago, when I was kicking around the idea of running for ag commissioner, the ag community asked me for 8 years. If I'm blessed to be reelected by the people of Kentucky, I'm going to give them 8 years.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I seriously highly recommend, if you're not the kind of person that's ever been to the state fair, come out. And this ag world or ag land is really great.
It is.
And it is I used to laugh about the state fair, and then I came, and now I come every year. So make sure you come out.